The storm came in fast over Hogwarts. Harry noticed it first when the candles in the Great Hall flickered, even though there were no open windows. One moment, the enchanted ceiling showed a calm autumn sky. The next, black clouds rolled in, thick and swirling, far darker than normal rain. He nudged Ron with his elbow. "Look at that." Ron glanced up, mouth full of roast potatoes. "Blimey, that's not on the weather report, is it?" Hermione looked up too. Her eyes narrowed. "There isn't a weather report for the ceiling, Ron, but those patterns are odd." Thunder rumbled. It felt low and close, like it was right under their feet instead of above their heads. The chatter in the hall began to die away as more students noticed. Even the ghosts glanced up, faces pale in the strange light. Dumbledore, at the staff table, set down his goblet. His blue eyes flickered to the ceiling, then to the windows along the walls. Lightning flashed outside, bright enough to cast sharp shadows through the glass. Hagrid pushed back his bench with a scrape. "That isn't right," he muttered, half to himself, already heading for the doors. A second flash came, brighter than the first, and this time they all heard something else under the thunder. A deep roar, twisted and muffled, like it was coming through water. "What was that?" Neville squeaked. "Maybe the giant squid's in a mood," Seamus joked, but his laugh was thin. Another roar, longer, closer. Now everyone was staring at the windows. The black lake was boiling. From where Harry sat, he could see the dark water thrashing, sending up waves that crashed against the shore. White foam burst and vanished in the rain. Something huge moved under the surface, a shadow that did not fit the shape of any creature he knew. Dumbledore rose from his chair. His voice carried through the hall, calm but firm. "Prefects, please lead your houses back from the windows. We will—" The water exploded. A pillar of the lake shot straight into the air, higher than the top of the castle. It twisted as it went, like a spinning column, thick and solid. At the base, the lake sucked down to meet it, leaving a ring of bare, muddy shore. Students screamed. Benches toppled. The storm seemed to slam against the walls, furious and loud. Harry was already on his feet. "Harry!" Hermione grabbed his sleeve. "Where are you going?" "Out there," he said. His scar prickled, not with Voldemort's magic exactly, but with something huge and old. "Something's wrong. Worse than usual." Dumbledore's voice cut through the panic. "Mr. Potter, stay inside for now if you please." Their eyes met. For a moment, Harry thought Dumbledore might actually make him sit down. Then the old wizard's gaze shifted back to the windows. His jaw tightened. "On second thought," Dumbledore said quietly, "Mr. Potter, Miss Granger, Mr. Weasley, come with me." They hurried after him, hearts pounding, as he swept out of the hall. Teachers followed. McGonagall, Snape, Flitwick, even Umbridge, though she looked more annoyed than afraid. Rain slapped Harry's face as they burst out onto the grounds. The wind smelled like lightning and lake water. The great column of water still towered over the black lake, twisting and roaring. Something moved inside it. At first, it was just a dark shape. Then Harry saw eyes. Yellow, slit like a snake's, wide and furious. A long body coiled around the inside of the water, scales flashing as they caught stray light from the castle windows. Ron swallowed. "Please tell me that's not another basilisk." "It's too big," Hermione whispered. "And we killed the basilisk." The shape lunged and the water burst outward. A giant serpent exploded from the column, snapping at the air, jaws wide. Its body was as thick as Hagrid's hut. Water streamed off its scales. It thrashed in mid-air, somehow held above the lake by rings of swirling water that wrapped around it like chains. And standing on its head, feet spread, sword drawn, was a boy Harry had never seen before. He looked a little older than Harry, maybe 16. Black hair stuck to his forehead in wet spikes. His clothes were torn and soaked. Pieces of armor strapped over a faded orange shirt. His eyes were bright sea green, glowing faintly in the stormlight. He yelled something Harry couldn't hear, then stabbed downward. His sword flashed. The serpent roared, the sound shaking the air. Blue-white light traced a line along its neck, and then the monster's head began to turn to dust, starting from the wound. Harry stared. So did everyone else. The boy jumped. He pushed off the serpent's head and dropped toward the water. The rings of spinning lake around the monster shifted at a gesture from his free hand pulling tight. The creature's body crushed in on itself, crumbling into grey sand that scattered into the storm. The boy hit the lake feet first. Instead of sinking, the water rose under him, catching him like a solid platform. The storm seemed to listen to him. The waves slowed. The column of water that had held the serpent broke apart into thousands of droplets and fell back to the lake in sheets of rain. In seconds, the surface was almost calm again. The boy turned toward the shore, toward Hogwarts, toward them. Snape stepped in front of the students, wand raised. "Stay back," he snapped. "All of you." Dumbledore stood at his side, wand still lowered, but his eyes very sharp. The boy stepped onto the muddy bank, boots squelching. He looked tired. His shoulders sagged, but his grip on the sword didn't shake. Up close, Harry saw that the blade was simple bronze, but it shone in a way that reminded him of phoenix fire. The boy glanced from Dumbledore to the castle, then up at the stormy sky. The clouds were already starting to thin. Rain softened to a drizzle. He let out a long breath. "Okay," he said. "That was not the camp lake." His voice sounded American. His tone sounded like someone who had seen a lot of strange things and was not ready for any more. He looked back at Dumbledore. He said. "I'm guessing this isn't Camp Half-Blood, is it?" Percy woke to the smell of herbs and the sound of clinking glass. For a moment, he thought he was back in the big house infirmary at Camp Half-Blood. Then he opened his eyes and saw stone arches, floating candles, and a woman in a stiff white apron who was not a centaur. "Oh, good," she said briskly. "You're awake." He pushed himself up on his elbows. "Where am I?" "The Hogwarts hospital wing," the woman said. "I am Madame Pomfrey, and you, young man, are very lucky. That energy surge would have torn most people apart." She shone a light from her wand into his eyes. Percy squinted. His head hurt, but not as much as it should. His muscles felt sore and heavy, but not broken. There was a glass of water on the bedside table. He reached for it without thinking. The water leapt into his hand. It rose from the glass in a smooth stream and wrapped around his fingers. Cool strength flowed up his arm. The ache in his shoulders eased. Madame Pomfrey jumped back. "Absolutely not. No unsupervised magic in my infirmary." Percy blinked. "Sorry," he said. "Habit." He let the water drop back into the glass. It obeyed him. It always did. The doors opened. An old man with a long silver beard walked in, wearing deep blue robes and half-moon spectacles. A thin witch with square glasses followed, along with a tall, dark-haired man, whose black eyes looked like they could set things on fire without a spell. The old man smiled. "Good evening, Mr. Jackson," Percy said. "Percy Jackson." "Albus Dumbledore," the man replied. "Headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is Professor McGonagall, our deputy headmistress, and Professor Snape, our potions master. Witchcraft and wizardry. Percy's brain threw up its hands and sat down. Right, he said slowly. So, I'm not dead? Not as far as I can tell, Dumbledore said kindly. Although, given the manner of your arrival, I would not blame you for asking. McGonagall's lips were pressed into a thin line. Mr. Jackson, what exactly were you doing riding a giant aquatic serpent out of our lake? Percy rubbed the back of his neck. Memories flashed back. Sea green light, the deep Atlantic, a swirling tear in the water that had not been there yesterday. The monster forcing its way through. I was trying to stop that thing from eating a summer camp, he said. And maybe the East Coast. Snape raised an eyebrow. How very noble. Dumbledore sank into the chair beside the bed. Tell us what happened, if you please, from the beginning. We will listen. Percy hesitated. He had told this story before, in different ways, to new campers, to gods, to mortals who would not remember. These people were looking at him like he was dangerous. But there was also something else in Dumbledore's eyes, a kind of quiet trust. Percy took a breath. Okay, so, first thing you should know, the Greek gods are real. McGonagall stiffened. Snape's expression didn't change, but his fingers tightened on his wand. Dumbledore only nodded, as if Percy had said the sky was blue. I am the son of Poseidon, Percy continued, the sea god. I live at Camp Half-Blood most of the time. It's a place for demigods, kids like me. We fight monsters, go on quests, save the world on alternate Thursdays. You know, normal stuff. Alternate Thursdays, Snape repeated slowly. Roughly, Percy said. Anyway, there's been weird stuff in the ocean lately. Rips, like holes. My dad asked me to check one near Long Island. When I got there, a big serpent was trying to push through. I fought it, but it grabbed me and we both fell into the... whatever it was. Next thing I know, I'm in your lake, still fighting, and your castle is in the background like some kind of brochure. Dumbledore's eyes were bright now. A tear between worlds, he murmured. How very interesting. So you believe me? Percy asked. In my experience, Dumbledore said, the world is full of strange truths. Greek gods would not even reach the top of my list. McGonagall shot him a look, but said nothing. Snape stepped closer to Percy's bed. You control the water as if it were an extension of your body, he said, and you turned that thing to dust with a single stroke. Is that typical of your kind? Percy shrugged. I'm stronger near water. That's just how it works. As for the monster, bronze and monsters don't mix. It's a thing. A thing, Snape repeated. Fascinating. Dumbledore stood. For now, Mr. Jackson, you are safe here, he said. Hogwarts will shelter you until we understand this tear and its dangers. What about my world? Percy asked. My family, my camp, are they just there without me? Dumbledore's face softened. I do not know, he said honestly. But if you are here, I suspect there is a reason, and reasons can be found. McGonagall cleared her throat. Albus, the Ministry will demand a report. They already do not approve of... Yes, Dumbledore said quietly. I imagine Cornelius will have strong opinions about a demigod son of a Greek deity on school grounds. A what? Percy asked. Later, Dumbledore said gently. For now, rest. We will speak again. They left him with Madame Pomfrey, who fussed a bit more, then finally dimmed the lights. Percy stared up at the ceiling. The stone arches were lined with carvings, stars, plants, strange animals. He missed the sound of waves against the beach at camp. He missed the smell of his mum's blue pancakes. Great, he muttered. New world, new monsters, probably new ways to die. He closed his eyes. Sleep came in slow waves. Harry, Ron, and Hermione did not wait long. As soon as Madame Pomfrey went to fetch more potions, the three of them slipped from behind the nearest screen and gathered at the foot of Percy's bed. He opened one eye. Hi. Harry stepped forward. I'm Harry, Harry Potter. This is Ron and Hermione. Hi, Percy said. Percy Jackson. I'm guessing you saw the lake thing. Everyone saw the lake thing, Ron said. It was brilliant. Terrifying, but brilliant. Hermione gave Ron a look. You could have died. Well, I didn't, Ron said, because Waterboy here showed up. Percy snorted. That's a new one. Harry studied him. Up close, Percy looked like any other teenager who had seen too much. His eyes were tired, but alert. There were faint scars on his arms and one across his cheek, half hidden by his wet hair. So, Harry said, Greek gods. Yup, Percy said. Magic swords, prophecies, monsters, lots of running. Ron grinned. We've got some of that too. Hermione cleared her throat. Mr. Percy, Hogwarts isn't used to non-wizard visitors, she said. But Dumbledore will help, I'm sure. He always does. Is he your head guy? Percy asked. He's the headmaster, Harry said. He runs the school, and he's one of the greatest wizards alive. Percy nodded slowly. Cool. At Cam, we have a centaur and a god who likes to turn into a 6-year-old. I think this is an upgrade. Ron's eyes widened. You're serious? Dead serious, Percy said. The god of wine. It's a long story. Hermione hugged a heavy book to her chest. I would love to hear it, she said. But also, we should probably explain a few things too, like wands and the ministry. And you know who. Percy frowned. You know who? Harry traded a look with his friends. That might take more than one visit, he said. But we've got time. Percy thought of the swirling tear, the way the water had twisted in on itself. He was not sure they did have time, but he didn't say it. Ron dug into his bag and pulled out a wrapped bundle. Brought you some food, he said. Hospital wing stuff is rubbish. He unwrapped it. Inside were 2 thick slices of treacle tart and a small mountain of biscuits. Percy eyed them. Do you have anything blue? Ron blinked. Blue? Yeah, Percy said. Long story. My mum makes blue food. It's a thing with us. It's like comfort food, but bluer. Hermione smiled despite herself. I don't think we have blue treacle tart, she said, but we can ask the house elves. Maybe they can make some. Percy considered this. Okay, he said. Trial run. He bit into the tart. His eyes widened. Okay, wow, this is good. Still needs more blue, but good. Ron shot Hermione a smug look. Told you treacle tart fixes everything. For the first time since the lake, Percy laughed. It didn't last long, but it helped. The staff meeting in Dumbledore's office was tense even before the fire turned green. He is not a wizard, Snape said. His voice was smooth, but each word landed like a stone. Nor a creature we have studied. He wields unknown magic and a blade that dissolves creatures we have never encountered. We cannot simply let him roam the corridors. Severus, no one said anything about letting him roam, McGonagall snapped. He is a child. A child who commands entire lakes, Snape replied. Dumbledore folded his hands. I do not think Percy wishes to harm anyone, he said. He reminds me of someone. McGonagall's eyes flicked to Harry's photograph on the wall, then back. Yes, well, one boy tied to dark prophecy is quite enough, thank you. Before Dumbledore could answer, the fire in his grate flared emerald. A round, worried face appeared in the flames. "Albus," Cornelius Fudge's voice rang out. "Albus, I demand an explanation. We have reports of some kind of gigantic incident at Hogwarts. Lightning, monster attacks, pillars of water." "Good evening, Cornelius," Dumbledore said calmly. "We had an unexpected visitor. The situation is under control." "Under control?" Fudge sputtered. "There was a column of water higher than your castle. People saw it from Hogsmeade." "Who is this person?" "A student from another world," Dumbledore said lightly. "A demigod, to be precise." Fudge stared. "A what?" "Half mortal, half deity," Dumbledore explained. "Quite polite, considering the circumstances." Fudge's face reddened. "Albus, this is no laughing matter. The Ministry must be informed of all foreign magical entities. This Percy Jackson must be placed under proper supervision at once." "Oh, he is under supervision," Dumbledore said. "Mine." "That is not enough," Fudge said. "Dolores will be in touch. There will be decrees, guidelines. This thing could be a weapon." Snape's eyes narrowed. McGonagall's lips thinned. Dumbledore's eyes cooled. "Percy Jackson is a boy," he said softly. "Not a thing. And Hogwarts is a school, not an armory." Fudge's face strained. "We'll see about that," he said. The flame snapped back to normal. McGonagall exhaled. "He is going to send Umbridge after the boy now," she said. "I suspect so," Dumbledore replied. Snape's gaze was sharp. "Then you must have a plan," he said. "Because if Percy Jackson chooses to turn that lake against us, Ministry decrees will not matter." Dumbledore looked at the dark window. The black lake lay somewhere beyond, quiet for now. "I do," he said. "For the moment, it is very simple. We keep him close. We teach him. We trust him. And we prepare just in case." The Sorting Hat did not like Percy Jackson. At least, that was how it sounded to Percy when Dumbledore plopped the patched, talking hat onto his head the next day in an empty great hall. Percy said. "Hi." "Well, this is interesting," a dry voice muttered in his ear. "Very interesting indeed." Percy jolted. "Whoa, okay, didn't know it would talk." "Demigod, are you?" the hat said. "Son of the sea, storms in your bones, wars on your hands." Percy tried not to squirm. "Is that bad?" "For sorting into a wizard house, it is complicated," the hat said. "You are brave enough for Gryffindor, loyal enough for Hufflepuff, stubborn enough for Slytherin, and your head is not as empty as you think, which would not offend Ravenclaw." "So pick one," Percy muttered. "Ah, but you are not of this world," the hat said. "You are tied to an older magic, older rules. The castle does not quite know where to put you, and neither do I." Percy frowned. "Look, I just need a spot to crash and some help getting home. I don't need a, whatever this is, hat life crisis." The hat chuckled. "You have spirit, that's for sure. But you are not a wizard, Percy Jackson. You do not belong to any house. You belong to the sea." "So," Percy said. "So I will not sort you," the hat said. "You shall be a guest of Hogwarts, free to walk its halls, but not bound to its banners." "Is that allowed?" Percy asked. "It is now," the hat said. Dumbledore lifted the hat away, eyes curious. "Anything to report?" "He's not for you, old man," the hat said aloud. "Not fully, but he is here. Make of that what you will." Percy slid off the stool. He felt oddly exposed without a house label, even if he had not really wanted one. He had spent years learning where he fit. Camp Half-Blood, the Poseidon Cabin, that half-strange place between mortal and divine. Now he was floating again. "Does that mean I have to sleep in the lake?" he asked. Dumbledore smiled. "No, Mr. Jackson. We will find you a room, perhaps near the kitchens. I hear you have thoughts about food." Percy brightened a little. "Yeah, your cook needs to learn how to make things blue." Dumbledore's eyes twinkled. "I shall inform the house elves." Snape's tests were less fun. He had Percy sit in a cold dungeon room while he waved his wand, muttered Latin words, and made potions change colour when drops of Percy's blood touched them. "This one detects werewolves," Snape said, watching as the potion stayed pale. "You are not one." "Good to know," Percy said. "This detects trace elements of dark magic," Snape continued. The potion turned sky blue when Percy's blood fell in. Snape's eyes hardened. "Is that bad?" Percy asked. "It means your magic does not match any of our known categories," Snape said. "It is not dark. It is not light. It is other." He paused. "The lake likes you, Jackson." Percy shrugged. "The sea and I have an understanding." Snape studied him a long moment. "If you were my student," he said, "I would tell you to keep your back to the wall and your wand, your sword, close at hand. Wizards fear what they cannot classify." "I've noticed," Percy said. "Gods too." Snape's mouth twitched, almost like a smile. "You are not as foolish as you look." "Thanks," Percy said dryly. Snape turned away. "Do not make me regret speaking to you like an adult," he said. "Go. The headmaster wants to show you around." Percy left the dungeon with his head spinning. The castle was a maze. Moving staircases, talking portraits, ghosts that floated through walls with no respect for personal space. He had fought titans. He had faced the literal god of time. Somehow, this place still managed to feel stranger. Far away, in a cold forest clearing, a thin man with red eyes felt the lake shudder. Voldemort paused mid-sentence. His Death Eaters fell silent as his gaze turned inward. "My lord," Lucius Malfoy said carefully. "Is something quiet?" Voldemort hissed. Magic, old and salt-sour, brushed against his senses. Not one magic, not the earthbound power of wizard spells. Something deeper, something like the ocean itself leaning close. He saw, for a heartbeat, a flash of another world, stone temples, waves breaking against cliffs, a boy with a bronze sword standing on a beach, wind in his hair. Then it was gone. Voldemort's lips curled. "Interesting," he murmured. "Master," Bellatrix whispered. "What is it?" "A ripple," Voldemort said. "A door in the water, and something has come through." He tapped a long, pale finger against his wand. "Hogwarts trembles. We will wait and see what walks its halls." In the deepest part of another sea, a god sat on a throne of coral and looked troubled. Poseidon watched the image of a strange stone castle fade from the surface of his scrying pool. His son's presence, once bright in the Atlantic, had blinked and reappeared in some place thin and far away. "Not my realm," he muttered. "Not even my world." Waves crashed harder against distant shores. Somewhere, a trident carved in stone cracked down the middle. "Careful, boy," Poseidon said quietly. "Wherever you've ended up." The fates did not answer. They never did. Above the Black Lake, the storm clouds finally began to clear. Percy Jackson, demigod, was now officially a guest of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and the wizarding world had no idea what that meant. The next week at Hogwarts was the strangest week of Percy's life. That was saying a lot, considering he had once been turned into a guinea pig and had fought a snake woman on the St. Louis Arch. He had a small room near the kitchens, with a round window that looked out over the Black Lake. House elves popped in and out. bringing food and asking weirdly detailed questions about blue dye. At breakfast, Percy sat at the end of the Gryffindor table, because that was where Harry and his friends sat. No one quite knew if he counted as Gryffindor, but he was there so often that people stopped asking. "Try the sausages," Ron said one morning, "and the eggs, and the toast, and—" "Ron," Hermione said, "he does not have to eat the entire table." Percy stabbed a sausage. "This is good," he admitted. "Still not blue, but good." The house elves took this as a challenge. The next day, the jam on his toast was a suspiciously bright shade of blue. Percy grinned and ate 3 slices. The running gag became official. Between meals, Percy followed Harry, Ron, and Hermione to classes. They let him sit in the back during Defense Against the Dark Arts, where Professor Umbridge talked in a sugary sweet voice about the ministry-approved method for safe, non-practical magic education. Percy raised a hand. "So, we're not going to learn how to actually defend ourselves?" Umbridge's smile did not reach her eyes. "Mr. Jackson, is it? Practical magic in this classroom is dangerous and unnecessary. The ministry believes that a firm theoretical foundation is quite enough." "Yeah," Percy said. "That always works great when monsters are trying to eat your face." The class snickered. Umbridge's eyes hardened. "Detention, Mr. Jackson," she said. "Tonight, you will learn that disrespecting authority has consequences." Harry shot Percy a warning look. Percy shrugged. He was used to gods with tempers. How bad could a pink-clad toad lady be? In Transfiguration, McGonagall raised an eyebrow when Percy turned his matchstick into a tiny wiggly fish without a wand. "That is not standard technique," she said. "It's a sea thing," Percy said. "Do not conjure sea creatures on my desks," she replied. But there was a hint of a smile. Hermione peppered him with questions about Greek myths. Ron wanted to hear about every monster he had ever fought. Harry listened in quiet silence, eyeing Percy's scar the same way Percy eyed Harry's lightning bolt. They understood each other in a way that didn't need words. At night, Percy stood by his window and stared out at the lake. It looked calm, but he could feel the power under it, the same way he could feel the sea back home. He wondered if the tear was still down there, waiting. In his office, Dumbledore read another letter from the ministry. It was full of words like regulation and containment and proper oversight. It mentioned Percy Jackson by name. It insisted that the ministry had both the right and the duty to control this foreign magical entity. Dumbledore set the letter down. His eyes were tired. Fawkes, his phoenix, trilled softly on his perch. "The ministry is afraid, old friend," Dumbledore murmured. "Afraid of what they do not understand. Afraid of change. Afraid of boys who can tilt lakes." Fawkes ruffled his feathers and hopped closer. "And perhaps," Dumbledore added, "they are not entirely wrong to be afraid. Percy Jackson is young, impulsive, loyal to his own world first, but he is also kind and very, very tired." He looked out at the lake. "We will give him space to breathe," Dumbledore said, "and people to trust. That is all I can do." On a cold Saturday morning, posters went up in the common rooms. Hogsmeade weekend, permission slips only. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were going. Percy did not technically have a permission slip, because no one had invented a form for lost demigod from another universe. Dumbledore solved it with a sentence. "Mr. Jackson will accompany Mr. Potter," he said. "They will keep each other out of trouble." This was optimistic. The path to Hogsmeade was lined with bare trees and light frost. Percy shoved his hands into his jacket pockets and watched his breath puff out in clouds. "So this is your magic village," he said. "Hogsmeade," Hermione said. "Only all-wizard village in Britain. Shops, inns, the occasional dangerous artifact, normal things." Percy snorted. "Sounds like Diagon Alley, but colder." They reached Honeyduke's first. Ron practically dragged Percy inside. The shop was a sugar explosion. Shelves of chocolate frogs, fizzing whiz-bees, jelly slugs. Percy stared, delighted and slightly horrified. "This is a lot," he said. "You have to try everything," Ron said, "starting with this." He grabbed a handful of Bertie Bott's every flavour beans. Hermione rolled her eyes. "Start with chocolate," she advised. "Beans are a gamble." Percy popped a bean into his mouth. His face went blank. "Percy?" Harry asked. "Tastes like seaweed," Percy said slowly. "But like not bad seaweed, huh?" They wandered the village. Percy compared every snack to his mum's blue food. He found a blue-tinged ice lolly and declared it almost perfect. The running gag kept his mind off the weight in his chest. For a while, he almost felt normal. Then the temperature dropped. It was not the gentle cold of winter. It was a deep bone-level chill that made the air taste like metal. Harry stiffened. His breath came out in a thick white plume. "No," he whispered. "Not here." "What is it?" Percy asked. Hermione's eyes were wide. "Dementors," she said. "They shouldn't be near the village. They're not supposed to be." The sky darkened. Shadows moved between the rooftops. Down the street, a woman screamed. Harry drew his wand. "Get under cover," he told Percy. "They go after happy memories. They suck out." "I know what they do," Percy said quietly. "We have something like that, kind of." Shapes glided into view. Tall, cloaked figures. Their faces were hidden, but Percy felt them. Cold like the deepest trench, pulling at everything warm inside him. He thought of his mum, smiling over blue pancakes. He thought of Annabeth's grey eyes, sharp and sure. The memories wobbled. For a second, he was back in Tartarus, falling, surrounded by monsters and poison air. No. He reached for the nearest source of water. There was snow on the ground, ice on barrels, moisture in every breath. It answered. Water surged up around his feet, swirling into a clear ring. It thickened into a barrier between the Dementors and the cluster of students huddled in the street. The Dementors hit it like a wall. The air hummed. They recoiled, cloaks smoking where they touched the spinning water. It glowed faintly with sea-green light. "What?" Hermione gasped. "Patronus!" Harry shouted. "Expecto Patronum!" His stag burst from his wand, bright and silver, charging through the street. It slammed into the front rank of Dementors, driving them back. Behind the Patronus, Percy tightened his grip on the water. He pushed it outward, forcing the Dementors away from the students, away from the shops. Cold and warmth crashed together. For a moment, the world was all bright silver and green light. Then the first curse flew. A jet of sickly green light shot past Percy's ear and hit a signpost. The wood exploded. "Down!" Harry yelled. Death Eaters apparated into the street with loud cracks, masks, dark robes, wands ready. "Find the boy," one snarled. "The new one, the lake boy." Percy's stomach dropped. "Great," he muttered. "I'm famous." He drew Riptide. The bronze sword flicked out of pen form into full length, gleaming. The nearest Death Eater hesitated for a split second. That was all Percy needed. He stepped forward and swung. The man's wand hand jerked aside, his curse blasting harmlessly into the snow as Percy knocked the wand away. The flat of the blade hit his ribs, sending him crashing into a wall. Riptide did not hurt mortals the way it hurt monsters, but the impact still knocked the breath out of him. "Percy!" Hermione shouted. She fired a stunner past his shoulder. Red light flashed. A Death Eater dropped. Chaos exploded. Spells flew. Students screamed. Shop windows shattered. Dementors scattered under the Patronus's light, but circled at the edges, waiting. Percy moved on instinct. He grabbed water from a burst barrel and the melting snow. It surged up in a wave, knocking 3 Death Eaters off their feet. He flicked his wrist and the water turned to ice around their wands, locking them to the ground. One Death Eater shot a curse at Percy's chest. The world slowed. Percy twisted. The curse clipped his shoulder. Pain burned through him, sharp and hot, but not killing. Not like the green one. "That was a cutting curse," Hermione shouted. "Don't let them hit you with green." "Noted," Percy yelled back. He pulled more water from the air. It formed a shield in front of him, a spinning disc that caught spell after spell. Sparks flew where magic hit it. Harry's Patronus roared again. Ron ducked behind a toppled cart, firing off stunners. Hermione stood with her back to Percy's, wand moving in tight, precise arcs. A Death Eater raised his wand toward a group of first years cowering near a doorway. Percy saw red. He slammed his foot down. The cobblestones under the Death Eater's feet erupted in a fountain of water, blasting him into the air. His mask flew off as he hit the ground. His eyes rolled back. "Jackson," a voice called. "Dumbledore's." The headmaster walked into the street with calm steps, robe swirling. Spells flew at him from 3 directions. He flicked his wand once, and they vanished into harmless sparks. His next move was a blur. Fire whirled around him, bright and hot, and curled into ropes that wrapped around wands. He transfigured a fallen signpost into a flock of stone birds that pecked at Death Eater's arms. The air hummed with raw power. Percy had seen gods fight. Dumbledore was not a god, but he was close. The Death Eaters faltered. "We have what we need," one shouted. He pointed his wand at the ground. A chunk of snow and ice splashed with water lifted into the air and flew into his hand. "Retreat." They disapparated in a series of loud cracks, some dragging stunned allies with them. The last one vanished with a swirl of cloaks, clutching the frozen water like a prize. The Dementors fled before the Patronus. Silence fell. Percy stood in the middle of the street, chest heaving, water dripping from his hair and sleeves. His shoulder burned where the curse had hit. Around him, students slowly raised their heads. "Is everyone okay?" Harry called. Shaken voices answered, some sobbing, some angry. Dumbledore lowered his wand. His eyes met Percy's. "Thank you," Dumbledore said simply. Percy swallowed. "Yeah," he said. "No problem." Inside he was shaking. Those green flashes. He had seen death before. He had never seen death turned into a neat little beam of light. It made his stomach twist. Hermione touched his arm gently. "You did great," she said. Ron nodded. "You saved loads of people." Percy looked at his hands. They were still wet. He had held back. He could have pulled every drop of water out of the ground, out of the air, out of the snow. He could have crushed the cobblestones and drowned the whole street. He hadn't. And still, the Death Eaters had taken something. Snow and water and blood. He didn't know why, but his gut told him it mattered. Dumbledore knew it too. Percy could see it in his face. Back at Hogwarts, the great hall buzzed with noise. Rumours flew faster than owls. Some said Percy had turned into a giant wave himself. Others claimed he had ridden a Dementor like a surfboard. Percy wished that part were true. Madame Pomfrey patched up his shoulder. She muttered about reckless boys and foreign magic. but her hands were gentle. When the staff gathered again, the mood was heavier. "They came for him," McGonagall said. "They called him Lake Boy. Someone has been watching." "They always are," Snape said. "We would be fools to believe otherwise." Dumbledore's fingers tapped on the table. "Voldemort has seen enough to know Percy Jackson is not a rumour," he said. "The Ministry knows it as well. Today, they learned the same lesson, from opposite sides." "And that is?" McGonagall asked. "That the boy from the lake," Dumbledore said quietly, "is a world-changing factor." Outside, the Black Lake lay dark and still. Under its surface, something old shifted. The tear between worlds had not closed. It had only begun to open. The Daily Prophet arrived like a flock of angry birds. Owls swept into the great hall at breakfast, dropping newspapers onto plates and into mugs. Percy had just bitten into a piece of toast with bright blue jam when a thick bundle landed right in his eggs. "Gross," he muttered, pulling it free. Harry, Ron, and Hermione each grabbed a copy. The front page made Percy's stomach twist. A moving picture showed the Hogsmeade street from a bad angle. Dementors hung at the edge of the frame. Death Eaters were half hidden in shadows. In the middle, soaked and wild-eyed, was Percy, holding up a wall of spinning water. The headline screamed, "Foreign weapon or new threat. Unregistered sea wizard. Endangers students." Percy stared at it. "Sea wizard," Ron said. "That's not even close." Hermione's eyes were racing across the article, her mouth pressed into a thin line. "They're saying you caused the attack," she said. "That your uncontrolled powers drew the Dementors and Death Eaters in the first place." "That's rubbish," Ron snapped. "They showed up looking for him, yeah, but he didn't invite them." Harry said nothing. He turned the page. On the second sheet, a smaller picture showed Dumbledore and Percy standing in the ruined street. The caption read, "Dumbledore harbours. Dangerous creature Ministry demands answers." Percy's throat felt tight. "Creature," he said softly. "Don't read the comments," Hermione said. Then she caught herself. "I mean, the letters. People write in. It gets worse." Another owl swooped down and dropped a single letter in front of Percy. The wax seal was bright red. The crest was one he did not know, but everyone else did. "The Ministry," Hermione whispered. Percy picked it up. His fingers left damp spots on the parchment. He broke the seal and unfolded it. "Mr. Jackson, you are hereby requested to present yourself for assessment by the Ministry of Magic at the earliest opportunity. Your recent actions, while perhaps well-intentioned, have caused grave concern regarding your status, control, and allegiance. For the safety of the wizarding public, you must be examined and placed under proper supervision. Dolores Jane Umbridge, Senior Undersecretary to the Minister Hogwarts High Inquisitor." Percy exhaled slowly. "Great," he said. "I saved a village. Now they want to put me in a box." "At least they said well-intentioned," Ron offered weakly. Harry crumpled his newspaper. "That's Umbridge," he said. "She doesn't care about safety. She cares about control." Hermione pointed toward the wall. New pink parchments had appeared there overnight. Educational decrees. The ones Percy had seen before were now joined by a fresh one at the very top. She read it aloud. "By order of the High Inquisitor, any non-standard magical ability or unregistered magical being at Hogwarts must not perform said abilities without Ministry approval," she read. "Failure to comply will result in immediate disciplinary action." Percy rubbed his temples. "So I'm non-standard magical ability now," he said. "That's a fun label." "You're not the only one," Harry said. "They're coming for us too," For the DA, for anyone who doesn't fit their neat little rules. Hermione folded the prophet with sharp movements. We cannot let them decide who you are, she said, or what you're allowed to be. Percy poked his blue toast. Suddenly, it did not taste as good. Yeah, he said. Tell that to the lady with all the cat plates. Dumbledore's office smelled like lemon drops and old wood. Percy sat in a soft chair across from the headmaster's desk. Fawkes watched him from the perch, head tilted. The Phoenix's warm eyes made Percy feel like he was being weighed and not found wanting. Dumbledore held the ministry letter in his hand. He had read it once already. He read it again now, as if the words might change. They want to assess me, Percy said. What does that even mean? Tests, Dumbledore said. Interviews. Perhaps confinement in some secure facility while they decide what label to place upon you. Fun, Percy said. I've had enough of being locked up, thanks. He thought of the time Hera had stolen his memory, of being lost and hunted. He thought of Tartarus again. Locked up was a mild phrase for that. Dumbledore watched his face. I am not going to hand you over to them, he said. Percy looked up. They seem pretty sure you will. The ministry often assumes its wishes are laws of nature, Dumbledore said. They are not. Not here. Not yet. He set the letter down. Percy, he said, I must be honest with you. You are powerful. More powerful near water than most of my staff with wands. That frightens people who like neat systems and charts. I didn't ask for this, Percy said. I didn't choose to be Poseidon's kid. I just am. I know, Dumbledore said gently. I have seen many children born into roles they did not ask for. He did not say Harry's name. He did not need to. The question is not whether you are dangerous, Dumbledore went on. Anyone with power can be. The question is who gets to decide what you do with that power. You, the ministry, Voldemort, the gods from your world. Percy stared at his hands. They still smelled faintly of lake water, even this long after Hogsmeade. Back home, he said, the gods used me, sent me on quests, told me it was my destiny, like I didn't get a say. I did good things, but it hurt. It cost. And you fear the ministry wishes to replace them in that role here, Dumbledore said. Yeah, Percy said. Different boss, same tricks. Dumbledore's eyes softened. I cannot promise to keep you safe from all pain, he said. No one can. But I can promise you this. As long as you are at Hogwarts, I will not let them turn you into a tool. You are a person, a student, a guest. That matters. Percy swallowed. Even if I'm not from your world. Especially then, Dumbledore said. It is easy to care for people who are like us. The real test is caring for those who are not. He leaned back. For now, we will delay the ministry. Ask for time. More data, as they like to say. Meanwhile, we prepare. You learn to read our spells and laws. We learn more about your magic and the tear that brought you here. And if they stop asking and just show up? Percy asked. Dumbledore's gaze turned to the window. The sky outside was grey. Then, he said, we will adjust. Percy snorted. Great. That's very comforting. Dumbledore smiled a little. I find that honest uncertainty is kinder than false promises, he said. You, of all people, understand that. Percy did. Too well. As he left the office, his chest felt both lighter and heavier at the same time. Snape caught Percy in the corridor that evening. Literally. Percy turned a corner near the dungeons and almost walked straight into him. Watch it, Snape said sharply. Sorry, Percy said. These hallways need a map. Snape looked him over. I hear you had a chat with the headmaster, he said. He is very fond of chats. Percy shrugged. He's better than most gods I know. Snape's eyebrows rose a fraction. That is a low bar from what you have told us. They stood in awkward silence for a second. Students walked past, giving the potions master a wide berth. Percy wondered if he should step aside too. Instead, Snape spoke again. The ministry will not stop, he said quietly. They will smile, they will flatter, they will threaten. They will wrap their hands in laws and try to drag you by the throat. Percy frowned. You're really selling this place, Professor. I am not here to sell it, Snape said. I am here to make sure fools with too much power do not get us all killed. For a moment, Percy thought Snape meant him. Then he realized Snape meant everyone. Dumbledore, the Ministry, Voldemort. Do you think I'm going to get you killed? Percy asked. Snape's gaze was like a knife. I think you are young, he said, and you care more about your friends than your own safety. That is a dangerous mix. I think you are used to being the one who rushes into the storm and somehow survives. One day, you will not, and others will follow you. Percy thought of Nico, of Jason, of kids who had not come home. He looked away. So what do you want me to do? He asked. Hide in my room. Stay away from water so I don't cause waves. Snape's jaw tightened. I want you to be ready, he said. If the ministry comes, you need to know the castle better than they do. If Voldemort decides to use you, you need to know your limits. And if Dumbledore is wrong, and he is sometimes, you need to know how to say no. Percy blinked. No one usually told him to question the wise old leader, not out loud. I don't have a wand, he said. I don't know your laws. I barely know which staircase is going to dump me into a suit of armor. Then learn, Snape said. Do not drift through this school like seaweed. You are not a wave. You are a person. Act like one. Percy almost laughed. It came out as a puff of air. Do you talk to all your students like this? He asked. Snape's eyes flashed. The ones who might live long enough to regret their choices, he said, and swept past him, robes billowing. Umbridge's office was worse than Percy expected. He had seen some strange rooms. Circe's island had been full of cages and glowing bottles. The Lotus Hotel had endless arcade lights and strange, sleepy music. Umbridge's office was quiet and pink. Too pink. Porcelain plates with cats on them covered the walls. The cats moved, blinking slowly, tails flicking. The air smelled like tea and something too sweet. Umbridge sat behind her desk, hands clasped, smile fixed in place. Mr. Jackson, she said, do sit down. Percy sat. The chair felt like it had been built to make people feel small. I understand you've had an exciting time since arriving, Umbridge said. New world, new school, new rules. That must be very stressful. Percy watched her eyes. They were flat and cold, even as she talked about stress. I've had worse, he said. But yeah, it's a lot. She poured tea into a cup, then another. The china clinked softly. The ministry wants to help you, she said. We are very worried about you. A young man, alone in a strange place. No parents, no guardian. Such power and no guidance. I've got Dumbledore, Percy said. Albus has many duties, Umbridge said lightly. He cannot always give you the attention you need, whereas the ministry can offer you structure, training, protection. Percy raised an eyebrow. Protection from what? From those who would use you, Umbridge said. Dark wizards, foreign powers, even gods perhaps. Her smile did not change. You are a valuable asset. We want to make sure you are safe. Percy thought of iron bars that looked like help. He thought of golden cages. "And how would you do that?" he asked. "We could move you to a secure ministry facility," Umbridge said. "Someplace where we could study your powers, help you learn to control them in ways that support our society. Of course, we would also make every effort to find out how to send you home." The last words hit like a punch. Home, blue cookies, New York traffic, the cabins at Camp Half-Blood, Annabeth laughing at him on the climbing wall. "You can send me home?" he asked. His voice came out softer than he meant. Umbridge's smile widened a fraction. "We have the best unspeakables in the Department of Mysteries," she said. "If anyone can unravel this tear you speak of, it is them. But they need access to you, to your magic, to your memories, perhaps." Percy's fingers tightened on his knees. He imagined faceless wizards poking at his brain, digging through his quests, his friends, his fears. "And if I say no?" he asked. Umbridge sighed. "Oh, Mr. Jackson," she said, as if he were a slow child. "This is not about saying no. This is about doing what is best for everyone. You are very strong, but you are only one boy. The ministry speaks for our entire world." "I didn't ask to speak for yours," Percy said. "I just washed up here." "Exactly," she said. "And that is why adults must decide what happens next. You do not want to hurt anyone, do you?" Percy thought of Hogsmeade, of curses flying, of how much worse it could have been if he had lost control. "No," he said. "Then trust us," Umbridge said. "Sign this." She slid a parchment across the desk. "It simply gives the ministry permission to advise on your training and activities, to make suggestions, for your own good." The parchment pulsed faintly with magic. Percy had signed enough god contracts to know a trap when he saw one. "Can I think about it?" he asked. Umbridge's eyes cooled, just a fraction. "Of course," she said, "but do not take too long. Sometimes waiting looks like disobedience, and disobedience forces our hand." She pushed the tea toward him. "Drink up. It's calming." Percy looked at the tea. He thought of Hera's sleeping potions. He thought of people who smiled while they pushed you toward a cliff. "No thanks," he said. "Caffeine makes me jittery." Umbridge's smile cracked, then snapped back into place. "Very well," she said. "You may go." Percy left the office feeling like he had been wrapped in sticky cobwebs. That night, Percy could not sleep. He lay in his small bed, staring at the ceiling. Moonlight shone through the round window. The lake outside was a sheet of dark glass. The word home kept circling his thoughts. If he went with the ministry, maybe they would really find a way to send him back. Maybe they would not. Maybe they would keep him in a room and drain him like a battery. He remembered times the gods had done similar things, offering help that came with chains. He remembered Dumbledore's promise, Snape's warning, Umbridge's smile. "How am I supposed to choose?" he muttered. The lake answered, not in words, in feeling. A tug deep in his chest, a sense of something old moving under the surface. A soft thump, like a giant heartbeat. Percy rolled over, trying to ignore it. It grew stronger. His eyes drifted shut. He fell into water. He was standing on the bottom of the black lake. The water was clear and cold, but he could breathe. The surface far above him rippled with moonlight. Around him, tall weeds waved like slow dancers. Shapes moved in the gloom. Merpeople watched from a distance, spears in hand, eyes wary. Percy turned. A canyon split the lake bed. Jagged rocks rose on either side. In the walls, he saw stones that did not match. Blocks of carved Greek marble, broken pillars, bits of old temples fused with rougher, newer stone. Ropes of glowing symbols ran across them. Some were Greek letters, some were runes he did not know, all wrapped around a dark crack in the rock. The crack pulsed. Something behind it shifted, massive, slow. Chains rattled. A voice slid through the water. "Free, me." It spoke in ancient Greek. The sound made Percy's bones vibrate. "Who are you?" he asked. "Forgotten. Peace," it whispered. "Cast, out, bound, between." A huge eye opened in the crack. It glowed dull green. It looked at Percy with hate and hunger. "Your world, our world," it crooned. "Door, open, both, drown." Percy's heart pounded. "What happens if the door opens?" he asked. Images slammed into his mind. New York flooded, Hogwarts under waves, gods and wizards shouting, fighting, falling. A sea of monsters pouring through a hole between skies. He staggered. The chains on the crack glowed brighter. They were weak. "Come," the voice whispered. "Or he will." A shadow formed beyond the eye. A man, thin and tall, with red eyes like coals, stood on the other side of the crack. He raised a wand. The tip burned with sickly green light. Voldemort. His voice hissed through the water, twisted and distant. "Such useful doors," Percy shouted. "No." The water shook. He woke up with a gasp. His sheets were damp with sweat. The moon was higher now. The lake outside his window looked the same, but Percy knew better. He pulled on his jacket and grabbed Riptide. His heart was still racing. He needed to talk to someone. He found Harry in the common room, awake and sitting by the dying fire, staring at nothing. A book about defensive spells lay open but unread in his lap. "You too," Harry said when Percy walked in. "Nightmare?" Percy asked. "Vision," Harry said. "Sometimes our minds are funny that way. Sit." Percy dropped into the chair across from him. For a moment, they just sat in silence, listening to the fire crackle. "I saw something in the lake," Percy said at last. "Something chained, something old, and Voldemort was there, on the other side of a crack." Harry's hand tightened on the book. "I saw him too," he said. "Not in the lake, in my head. He was happy. He's planning something with the Department of Mysteries, something with a door." Percy swallowed. "Doors are bad news." "Tell me about your prophecies," Harry said suddenly. "The ones from your world." Percy blinked. "That's a fun bedtime topic." Harry gave a half smile. "Humour me." So Percy did. He told Harry about the first great prophecy, about choosing to take the weight of the sky, about making choices that could have destroyed his world. Harry listened, eyes dark. Then he told Percy about Sybil Trelawney, about neither can live while the other survives, about being marked, chosen, pushed. "So we're both cosmic chew toys," Percy said when he finished. "Nice." "Feels like it," Harry said. They sat in silence again. "Do you think we're stuck?" Percy asked. "Like no matter what we do, the big stuff already picked the path." Harry shook his head slowly. "I think prophecies are like maps," he said. "They show possible roads. They don't force your feet. Dumbledore thinks they matter less than what we choose when we get there." Percy thought of the cracks in the lake, the chains, the eye. "I chose to fight Kronos," he said. "I'd choose it again. But I don't want some new prophecy deciding I have to open or close a door between worlds, while old Snakeface watches." Harry looked up at him. "Then we find the door first," he said. "Before Voldemort, before the Ministry, before anyone." Percy met his gaze. "You're serious?" Harry nodded. "If something is under that lake," he said, "we need to see it, on our terms." "Dumbledore said not to go alone," Percy said. "Good," Harry said. Because we won't. Dumbledore did not look surprised when Percy and Harry walked into his office the next day and asked about the lake. "I suspected you would come," he said. "Dreams." "More like a wet horror movie," Percy said. "There's something chained under there, something from my side, and Voldemort knows, or will know soon." Harry added what he had seen. Dumbledore listened, fingers steepled. "The lake is older than the castle," he said at last. "Magic gathers in deep places. It is possible that, when you arrived, Percy, some older seal was disturbed, one that kept your worlds apart. So we fix it," Percy said. "We go down there and see what's what." Dumbledore's eyes were serious. "This is not like your usual quest, Percy," he said. "Here, you do not know all the rules, and you are not the only player." "I never know all the rules," Percy said, "and there are always too many players." Dumbledore allowed a small smile. It faded quickly. "I will not forbid you," he said. "The fates—" He caught himself. "The threads of magic have clearly tangled you with that place, but you will not go alone." "Harry," Percy said. "And Miss Granger," Dumbledore added. "And Miss Lovegood. Her mind sees sideways. That can be very useful when dealing with things between worlds." Percy nodded slowly. Ron would not like being left out, but Percy understood. Someone had to stay above. Someone had to tell the story if they did not come back. "I must warn you," Dumbledore said. "Whatever is down there may not want to be sealed again. It may try to tempt you, with home, with power, with peace." "I'm getting tired of people offering me things," Percy said. "Then perhaps you are learning," Dumbledore said. He looked out at the lake, dark through the window. "Go at night," he said, "when the castle is quiet. I will keep the staff distracted. If the ministry or others notice, they will come. Be quick." Percy's heart thudded. Quests always started like this, with a talk, with a choice. He had already made it. The night air was sharp and cold. Percy, Harry, Hermione, and Luna met under Harry's invisibility cloak near the front doors. It was a squeeze, but they managed. "Everyone got everything?" Hermione whispered. "Wand," Harry said, tapping his pocket. "Wand and book of runes," Hermione said, patting her satchel. "Wand and extra socks," Luna said dreamily. "You never know." Percy lifted his hand. "Sword," he said, "and a deep, deep hate for big underwater monsters. I'm ready." They slipped out onto the lawn. The castle behind them was full of sleeping students and wandering ghosts. The black lake ahead was a wide, dark shape. They broke from under the cloak near the shore. Percy breathed in. The smell of the water calmed him a little. "Last chance to call this off," he said. Hermione shook her head. "We're not letting you go alone," she said. Luna smiled at the lake. "The Raxperts are very quiet tonight," she said. "It's a good sign," Harry snorted. "That's Luna speak for, we're doing this." They walked to the water's edge. "Bubblehead charms first," Hermione said. "On us three. Percy, you're fine, right?" "I'm more than fine," Percy said. "I'm at full bars." Hermione raised her wand. Clear bubbles formed around her head, then Harry's, then Luna's. Their voices came out muffled now. Percy stepped into the lake. The water was icy at first. Then it warmed, wrapping around him like an old coat. His sea-born senses snapped into place. He could feel every current, every rock, every fish. He turned back. "Ready?" he called. Harry nodded. They dove. The lake closed over their heads. Down here the world was green and black. Shafts of pale moonlight cut through the surface. Percy led the way, kicking easily. The others sank more slowly, bubbles shining around their faces. Small fish darted past. A silvery trout paused to look at Percy, then zoomed away when he waved. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Percy's eyes adjusted. He sent a thread of power out, lighting a faint path ahead. Shapes moved at the edge of his vision. Spears. Merpeople appeared, gliding through the water with strong strokes. Their hair flowed around them like weeds. Their eyes were sharp. The leader swam forward. Her hair was braided with shells. She held a long spear tipped with stone. She opened her mouth and spoke. The sound was rough and clicking. Harry and the others frowned, not understanding. Percy did. The words slid into his mind like waves. It was not exactly English, not exactly Greek, but water carried meaning between them. "She wants to know what we're doing here," Percy said. Hermione's eyes widened behind her bubble. "You can understand them?" "Sea perks," Percy said. He turned back to the merwoman. "We're here because something under your lake is waking up," he said, speaking from his gut. "Something chained. It might break free and hurt both our peoples." The merwoman's eyes darkened. She answered in a stream of words that tasted old and deep. "She says they know," Percy translated. "They've guarded this place since before the castle was built. They say the chains are weakening. They thought it was the giant squid's fault at first, but now they blame me." He winced. "Fair." The merwoman swam closer, studying him. "She also says the big tentacled one likes you," Percy added. "So that's nice." As if on cue, a huge shape drifted out of the gloom. The giant squid. It was massive, larger than a bus. Its eyes were the size of plates. Its tentacles waved slowly, gentle, despite their power. It floated above Percy and the others, shading them like a roof. One tentacle reached down and brushed Percy's shoulder, almost like a pat. "Hey, big guy," Percy said softly. The squid hummed, a low vibration in the water. The merwoman pointed her spear toward the dark part of the lake. She spoke again, tone grave. "She'll take us to the canyon," Percy said, "but she warns that if we loosen the chains instead of fixing them, they'll fight us. Hard." "Fair enough," Harry said through his bubble. They followed. The bottom of the lake rose and fell. Weeds gave way to bare rock. The water grew colder. Then Percy felt it, the same pull from his dream, stronger now, like a hook in his chest. He slowed. Ahead, the canyon split the lake bed, just like he had seen. Greek pillars jutted from the walls, broken and worn. Hogwarts stone filled the gaps. Runes ran along both sets of rocks, two kinds of magic twisted together. Hermione's eyes were huge. She tugged her wand out and pointed at the symbols. "That's not possible," she mouthed. Percy swam closer and laid a hand on a Greek block. The stone hummed under his palm. Memories fluttered at the edge of his mind. Old temples, storms. These stones belonged to his world. "Looks possible to me," he said. The crack in the rock was just as he remembered. Dark, thin, pulsing softly. Chains of light ran across it, made of both Greek letters and wizard runes. They glowed faintly, as if tired. Luna drifted beside him. Her wide eyes glimmered. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And very sad." Hermione scribbled with a waterproof quill on a slate she had brought. "These runes are sealing runes," she said. "And those letters, bonds. They've been reinforced several times. Look at the layers." "I'm looking at the giant evil door," Harry said, "and I vote we don't open it." Percy stared at the crack. The pull grew stronger. He could feel something, a presence, watching. He reached out. The water around them shivered. Chains rattled. A voice slid into their heads. "Son of the sea," it whispered. "You came." The crack widened a little. Just a little. Enough for a sliver of green light to seep through. Hermione gasped. Her slate slipped from her hand. Something huge pressed against the gap. Scales, flesh, power. Free. Me, the voice said. They trapped me between worlds. Left me alone. Images flashed. A massive sea beast struck by lightning and thrown sideways through the tear when Percy had first come. Gods cursing, wizards casting, chains slamming shut. You don't belong here, Percy said, and you don't belong back there either. You'll wreck both places. Let me sink the castle, it crooned. Let me drown, the Dark One. I will leave your world after. Luna frowned. It's lying, she said calmly. Its echo is wrong. Her words snapped Percy out of the trance. He pulled his hand back. The monster roared. The water shook. Chains snapped. 3 of the glowing bonds broke with a flash of light. The crack widened. A huge, scaled snout pushed through, followed by one glowing eye. It was not as big as the sea monsters Percy had fought in the Atlantic, but in a lake this size, it was enormous, big enough to coil around the castle and squeeze. Back, Hermione shouted. The merpeople yelled underwater war cries and brandished their spears. The giant squid whipped its tentacles, lashing at the beast's snout. The monster lunged. It burst fully into the lake, shredding more chains. The crack writhed behind it, still open, still pulsing. A long body covered in dark green scales, twisted in the water. Fins like knives cut the currents. It roared again. The sound rattled Percy's teeth. The whole lake responded. Waves slammed into the canyon walls. Rocks tumbled. Weeds tore free. The merpeople scattered, regrouping in tight formations. Okay, Percy said. His heart was racing, but his voice stayed steady. Time for the boss fight. In the castle above, alarms rang. Not bells. Magic. The enchanted ceiling in the great hall flickered. The floor trembled. Students jumped from their seats. McGonagall stood up so fast her chair toppled. To your dormitories, she shouted. Prefects now. Somewhere down the corridor, Umbridge's shrill voice floated in. This is what comes of harbouring dangerous creatures. Those children are to remain in their rooms. Ron's stomach twisted. He did not know what was going on, but he knew who was missing. Harry, he whispered, and Percy, and Hermione, and Luna. Ron did not go to his dormitory. Instead, he ran to find the DA. Underwater, Percy met the monster head-on. He shot forward, water rushing around him. Riptide was firm in his hand. The beast snapped at him with jaws full of jagged teeth. Percy twisted aside, feeling the drag of its breath. He slashed along its face. Bronze bit into scales. The wound glowed and hissed, but did not turn to dust. This creature was half in one world, half in another. The rules were weird. Great, Percy muttered. Half ghost snake. The monster whipped its tail. The blow caught him in the side and sent him crashing into a rock wall. Pain flared. Bubbles burst from his mouth. Percy, Harry shouted through his bubble, voice muffled by water and fear. I'm good, Percy called back, though his ribs argued. Hermione fired spells from behind a rock. Jets of red and blue light slammed into the beast's flank. The creature snarled, scales flashing. Harry swam to one side, trying to draw its attention. He blasted a stunner at its eye. The spell hit, making the monster flinch, but did not knock it out. Luna floated calmly, wand steady. She whispered something and sent a ribbon of pale light twisting around the monster's midsection. For a moment, it slowed, confused, as if caught in invisible weeds. The merpeople attacked in squads, spears stabbing at softer parts of its body. The giant squid wrapped 2 tentacles around the monster's tail, and pulled, trying to drag it away from the canyon. The beast roared again and thrashed. Percy gathered his strength. He was in water, his father's element. He was not at the ocean, but this lake was deep and old. It had power. He just had to use it. He closed his eyes for 1 second. The water around him hummed. It listened. Help me, Percy thought. Just this once. The lake answered. Currents surged at his command. Water spun into a vortex around the beast, slowing its movements. Percy moved with it, part of the flow. He rushed forward and drove riptide into a joint where 2 plates of scale met. The monster shrieked. The sound was almost enough to crack stone. Its body convulsed. One massive fin smashed into Harry, sending him tumbling. His bubble charm flickered but held. Hermione swam toward the canyon, dodging rocks. Her eyes were on the damaged chains. They're failing, she shouted. If we don't fix them, more things will come through. How? Percy called back. Greek letters and runes, Hermione said, voice fierce. We need both. You anchor your side. I'll anchor mine. The monster lunged at Percy again. The giant squid yanked it back. The merpeople circled, stabbing and shouting. Luna glided over to Hermione. I'll hold the light, she said. You draw. She raised her wand. A soft glow spread over the cracked stones, making the letters stand out. Hermione pressed her slate against the rock and wrote fast, copying the patterns she could see. Her brain moved like a machine, fitting pieces together. Percy, she called. These Greek bonds here, can you read them? He glanced over while dodging another snap of jaws. Yeah, he said. They say, bind between sky and sea, and hold the cast-off piece. Why? We need new ones, Hermione said. Stronger. Can you think of words? To tie it to this lake and your sea, without letting it go either way. Percy thought hard, all while ducking, stabbing, wrapping water around the monster's head to keep it from eating him. He shouted phrases in Greek. Hold the door. Lock the path. Anchor the stray piece to this place, not the world's. Hermione translated the meaning into runes. Her chalk scratched in the water glow, carving symbols into the stone with her wand. Luna held the light steady with one hand and sent confusing charm spells at the monster with the other, making its eyes cross. Harry recovered and went for the monster's side. He slashed at softer flesh near a gill slit, using a cutting charm. Blood, dark and strange, filled the water in clouds. The creature flailed. The lake itself began to move in new ways. Percy's words and Hermione's runes combined. Chains of light started to form again, but brighter, thicker. Half Greek letters, half wizard symbols. They wrapped around the crack, pulling it closed inch by inch. No, the monster screamed in their minds. I will not be cast aside again. It lunged toward the canyon, dragging the squid and several merpeople with it. Percy pushed with all his will, forcing the water against its body. Now, Hermione shouted. Percy, we need a final seal, something to link you to this lock. That sounds like a really bad idea, Percy yelled. It's either that or we all drown, Hermione snapped. Percy clenched his jaw. He thought of home, of here, of doors, of choices. He shouted one last phrase in Greek, pouring everything into it. By my blood and my bond with the sea, I bind this gate. Let nothing pass without my will. The words burned. Light flared from his chest. The chains of letters and runes shot out from the rock and wrapped around the monster, dragging it back. The bee screamed. Its voice shook the water. It tried to claw at Percy, but the currents grabbed its limbs. The giant squid let go and retreated. The merpeople pulled back, spears raised. The crack, closed around the monster's middle like a vice. The chains pulled, sinking into its flesh, then into the rock. One last flash lit the canyon. When Percy could see again, the monster was gone. Silence filled the lake. The chains on the crack glowed steady and strong. New symbols joined the old. One of them, Percy realized, was shaped like the letter P. "Oh, great," he muttered. "I just became a magical lock." He felt a new weight in his chest, a thread that led straight down to this place. It did not hurt, but it was not nothing. Hermione floated beside him, panting. "We did it," she said. Luna smiled, hair drifting around her like a halo. "You're a guardian now," she said. "How lovely." Harry swam closer, eyes wide. "You okay?" he asked. Percy nodded slowly. "I think so," he said. "But if anyone tries to open this thing without my say-so, I'll know." "And they'll have to get through us," Harry said. Above them, the water trembled again. Not from the monster this time, from spells. On the surface, Hogwarts was under attack. Death Eaters had chosen the same night to strike, using the disturbance in the lake as cover. They broke through the outer wards in small groups, aiming for the castle doors. They did not expect the DA to meet them. Ron stood in the entrance hall, wand out, heart thumping. Neville, Ginny, and a cluster of DA members lined up beside him. "Remember what Harry taught us," Ron shouted. "Shields up. Don't try to fight alone." Death Eaters burst through the doors. Spells flew. The entrance hall lit with red and gold light. Ron threw up a shield charm. A curse bounced off it and scorched the wall. "Stupefy," Ginny yelled. A masked attacker dropped. Neville, shaking but determined, shouted, "Impedimenta," and froze another Death Eater mid-step. Umbridge appeared on the staircase shrieking, "Stop this at once. Students are not allowed to." A stray spell hit the banister near her. She ducked and scrambled back up the steps, screeching about dangerous children. McGonagall and Flitwick charged in from the side corridors, wands blazing. Hagrid crashed through a side door swinging a massive crossbow. The fighting was messy and fast. The Death Eaters were skilled, but they were not ready for dozens of angry teenagers who had been secretly training for months. Soon it became clear they would not reach the lake. "Retreat," one shouted. "This is not the night." They disapparated in bangs and swirls of cloaks, leaving a few stunned bodies behind. Silence fell in the hall, broken only by heavy breathing and distant rumbles from the lake. Ron wiped sweat from his forehead. "I hope Harry knows what he's doing," he muttered. He did not know that at that same moment far below, Harry was helping a friend seal a door that could have drowned them all. When Percy, Harry, Hermione, and Luna finally broke the surface, the night sky looked different. It felt cleaner. They staggered onto the shore, dripping and gasping. Hermione dropped her bubblehead charm. Luna wrung water from her hair. Percy knelt, hand pressed to the wet grass, chest heaving. His whole body hummed with leftover magic. The castle doors flew open. Students and staff poured out, wands raised, eyes wide. Ron ran ahead of them, nearly falling on the slick lawn. "There you are," he shouted, voice breaking. "Where have you—" "Actually, no. Dumb question. You were under the lake, weren't you?" "Hi, Ron," Harry said weakly. "How's your night?" "Death Eaters," Ron said. "Fights. Umbridge having a fit." "You?" "Sea monster," Percy said. "Old magical door. I sort of became part of the lock." Ron blinked. "Right," he said. "So, usual then." Dumbledore stepped forward, soaking up the scene with one long look. His gaze lingered on Percy, on the water dripping from his clothes, on the steady, strange glow in his eyes. "You went to the canyon," Dumbledore said. "We sealed it," Hermione said. "We think. The chains are different now, stronger. Percy is tied to it." Dumbledore's expression was hard to read. There was worry there, and pride, and something like relief. "You four have done something very important," he said quietly, "and very dangerous." Umbridge pushed through the crowd, robes muddy, hair frazzled. "This is outrageous," she shrieked. "Students sneaking off, playing with forbidden magic. That creature," she jabbed a finger at Percy, "has endangered the entire school." Percy half rose, anger flaring. Water on the ground twitched under his hand. Dumbledore lifted his wand. The water stilled. "No, Dolores," he said. His voice was soft, but it cut through her rant like a blade. "Tonight, Percy Jackson and these students saved this school from a threat you did not even know existed." "They broke rules," Umbridge sputtered. "They—" "Sometimes," Dumbledore said, "the rules are not enough." He turned to the crowd. "Listen well," he called. "There is a tear in the magic of our world. It appeared when Percy arrived. Tonight, he helped to seal it better than it has ever been sealed before. He did not bring that danger. He made sure it did not destroy us." Murmurs ran through the students, some fearful, some awed. "The Ministry will hear of this," Umbridge snapped. "They will," Dumbledore said. "From me." He put a hand on Percy's shoulder. It was warm and steady. "Go to the hospital wing," he said. "All of you. Madame Pomfrey will complain, but she will be kind." Percy's legs finally admitted they were done. He let Harry and Ron support him as they walked back toward the castle. Students moved aside, whispers following them. "Guardian of the Lake," someone said. "The Sea Knight," someone else whispered. Percy shook his head. Titles, they never stopped. He felt the new bond in his chest, reaching down into the dark water. It was heavy, but it was also a choice he had made. As they stepped into the light of the castle doors, he realized something important. Hogwarts was not just a place he had fallen into anymore. It was a place he was holding up. Weeks passed. Winter settled over Hogwarts. Frost edged the windows. The Black Lake wore a thin skin of ice most mornings, with dark water moving slowly underneath. Percy felt that movement even in his sleep. His days fell into a strange, steady pattern. In the mornings, he sat at the Gryffindor table with Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The house elves had accepted his challenge. There was almost always something blue on the table now. Blue porridge, blue jam, once even blue sausages. "Okay," Percy said that day, poking one with his fork. "This might be too much." Ron shook his head and bit into one. His tongue turned bright blue. "No such thing," he said cheerfully. Hermione rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. After breakfast, Percy went to classes when he could. McGonagall grudgingly allowed him to sit in Transfiguration. Flitwick let him watch charms and even try a few wandless versions, which mostly ended with objects wobbling in the air like confused birds. In defense against the dark arts, Umbridge droned on about the importance of non-confrontational theory. Percy had to sit on his hands so he would not raise them every 5 minutes. He still got detentions. At least now he knew how to heal the cuts from her quill, with water drawn from his cup. Afternoons were for training. The DA had moved to a larger, disused classroom. Harry ran drills with spells. Percy added a new part, fighting without magic. Because sometimes you lose your wand, he told the group. Sometimes spells don't work, but you still have your body, your brain, your surroundings. He showed them how to move their feet, how to use walls as cover, how to roll under a curse instead of trying to block it head on. Think about where the enemy has to stand to hit you, he said. Then don't be there. Neville tripped a lot at first. Ginny picked it up fast. Luna somehow always ended up in the one place no one had aimed at, like she had seen the fight 3 seconds ahead. Even Hermione, who was more used to books than brawls, grew more sure-footed. "You're good at this," Harry told Percy one day after practice, watching the others pair off for sparring. Percy shrugged. "I've had to be," he said. "Monsters don't take breaks when you drop your sword." At night, Percy walked the grounds. He did not patrol because Dumbledore told him to. He did it because the pull in his chest would not let him sit still. The bond to the sealed doorway under the lake was always there now. A thin, steady line, like a string tied around his heart. Most days, it just hummed softly. Sometimes, it tugged. When that happened, he would go down to the shore, stand in the cold wind, and reach out with his mind, just to check. He felt the chains holding. He felt small things brush against them, little shivers from the other side. Nothing big, nothing like the monster they had sent back. But he knew, with the same certainty, he knew where the tide would go, that if anything tried to push through, he would feel it. "You're basically a human alarm system now," Ron said when Percy tried to explain. Percy snorted. "Guardian," he said. "Alarm systems don't stab things." "Depends on the alarm," Ron replied. The Ministry did not forget him. New articles appeared in the Prophet every few days. Some painted him as a hero. Most did not. "Ministry still awaits compliance," one headline read. "See Boy snubs law," another said. Umbridge watched him in every class, her eyes small and mean. One morning, a new educational decree went up. "By order of the High Inquisitor," Hermione read, "all training in combat magic or related physical tactics must be approved by the Ministry. Unauthorized defense clubs are hereby banned." Ron cursed under his breath. "That's at us," Harry said, "and at you." Percy stared at the parchment. "We're not stopping," he said. Harry smiled, tired but firm. "I didn't plan to," he said. They kept the DA going in secret. They moved rooms. They warned each other about Umbridge's spies. They got better at lying. Percy was not proud of that, but he was proud of how fast Neville could now disarm a partner. Life at Hogwarts went on. Classes, homework, Quidditch matches shouted across the sky, Peeves dropping things on people's heads. Underneath it all, bigger things moved. Voldemort adjusted his plans. The Ministry sharpened its letters. The lake waited. The dream came on a night when the snow fell very quietly. Percy had been reading by candlelight in his small room. The book was about magical creatures, with hand-drawn pictures of things like hinky-punks and grindylows. Half of them looked like monsters he could have met back home. He drifted off with the book on his chest. He woke standing in a room he had never seen before. It was long and high, lined with rows of stone arches and doors. Some were open, showing swirling dark shapes inside. Some were closed, humming with power. The floor was smooth black. The air was cold. He did not need to breathe, but his chest rose and fell anyway. "Where am I?" he murmured. "The Department of Mysteries," a voice said behind him. Or at least, a shadow of it. "Dreams are such useful places for meetings." Percy turned. Voldemort stood in the middle of the room. He was taller than Percy had expected. Thin, pale as bone. His face was wrong, nose flat, eyes red. His robes were dark, blending into the shadows. He did not raise his wand. He just smiled. Percy's hand flew to his pocket. Riptide was not there. Of course it wasn't. This was a dream. That's better, Voldemort said. No toys, just talk. Percy's skin crawled. You're in my head, he said. And you in mine, perhaps, Voldemort said. Our worlds touched when you arrived. Our magics brushed. The door under your lake is a cousin to the ones in this place. He gestured around them. Doors everywhere, to times, to thoughts, to death, to other places. Percy did not move. If this was like when Kronos had visited his dreams, then Voldemort wanted something. You sent your Death Eaters after me, Percy said. You sent Dementors. That's a weird way to say hello. Voldemort's smile thinned. I sent them to test you, he said. And you passed. You are powerful. More powerful than many of the fools in this world. You are not bound by wands, or by the same rules. He moved closer, stepped soundless. Percy fought the urge to step back. In your world, Voldemort said, you were used, pushed into wars, fed to prophecies. Percy's jaw tightened. You don't know anything about my world. Voldemort's eyes flickered. I know enough, he said. I have tasted the magic that clings to you. Old, wild, and cruel. Your gods are not kind. Your camp is a training ground like any other. You were a weapon there, as you are here. Dumbledore's weapon, the Ministry's prize. He's not, Percy started, then stopped. Dumbledore had not used those words. But Voldemort was not entirely wrong about how others saw him. You can feel it, Voldemort said softly. They circle you. The Ministry, with their chains painted as help. The headmaster, with his warm eyes and secrets. Even your little friends. They look at you and see someone who will throw himself between them and death. Percy thought of Harry, pale after their last DA meeting, of Hermione's tired smile, of Ron's jokes that did not quite hide his worry. He did not answer. I know what it is to be used, Voldemort said. The fools in this world believe I chose my own path, that I was born bad. They do not see the chains. The prophecies, the limitations of wand magic, of weak bodies that age and die. I want more. He spread his hands. You and I are not the same, he said, but we are both trapped in stories others wrote. There is, however, a way out. Percy's heart thudded. You mean the door, he said. Doors, Voldemort corrected. Plural. Between your world and mine. Between this small pond and the sea beyond. You feel one under your lake. There are more. In places even Dumbledore does not know. He stepped closer. The air grew colder. Help me open them, Voldemort said. Not enough to drown everything. Just enough to slip through. We leave this foolish world behind. We walk into a place where wand magic does not rule, where we can take what we want from gods and wizards both. Percy stared at him. You want me to help you invade my home, he said slowly. Let you past whatever defenses are left. Let you play with gods who throw mountains. I want freedom, Voldemort said, and you want home. I can give you that. I have already begun work. In the Department of Mysteries, there are rooms that touch the same currents as your lake. With your bond, you can guide me. You can open the door just enough. I go. You go. We close it behind us. He smiled again. It did not reach his eyes. You can save this world that way, he said, without fighting its war, without dying in its battles. They never have to know what you did. Percy's stomach twisted. It sounded clean, too clean, and wrong. So you go into my world, Percy said. Then what? You send me home, pat me on the head and leave. You don't try to take over the gods and twist everything. You don't come back here with an army of monsters from both sides. Voldemort's expression did not change. The future is full of many paths, he said, Why should you care if this place is safe and your mother smiles again? Percy's hands curled into fists. He saw New York underwater, like in his vision. He saw Camp Half-Blood burning. He saw Hogwarts, empty and quiet, saved for now, but at the cost of a storm elsewhere. That's not saving this world, Percy said. That's dumping the problem on my world, on my friends. I've seen that game. The gods play it all the time. Let someone else pay. They would do the same to you, Voldemort said calmly. I know, Percy said. I'm not them. Silence fell. Voldemort's eyes glittered. Think, boy, he said. You could go home. I am offering you an end to your exile, to your bond, to your night staring at the lake and wishing for blue cookies that taste like your mother's. Percy flinched. He had not said that to anyone. Not out loud. Anger burned away some of the fear. You don't get to talk about my mum, he said. The room seemed to darken. I am giving you a gift, Voldemort said. Do not be foolish enough to throw it away. I'm throwing it away, Percy said. And you know what? It's not a gift. It's poison in a shiny cup. He took a step forward, until they were only an arm's length apart. I'm not your weapon, Percy said. I'm not the ministries. I'm not the gods. I'm not even Dumbledore's. I'm me. And I'm not opening that door for you. Not now. Not ever. Voldemort's face smoothed out. For a moment, he looked almost bored. Very well, he said. You choose to stay in chains. When you drown in someone else's war, remember this moment. The arches around them began to fade. The room stretched. You cannot fight me in your dreams, Voldemort said, but you will face me in the waking world soon enough, and when you do, you will wish you had taken my offer. Percy gritted his teeth. We'll see, he said. The floor dropped away. He woke in his bed with a shout, heart pounding, sheets twisted around his legs. The bond to the lake hummed like a live wire. He swung his legs to the floor and sat there for a long time, head in his hands, fighting the urge to throw up. He could have said yes. He had not. That choice hurt more than any sword wound. It also felt right. The ministry did not wait long to make their move. 3 days after the dream, a message went out to all students. Mandatory assembly in the Great Hall at noon. Attendance required. That sentence never meant anything good. Reckon they're finally coming for you, Ron said quietly as they walked down. Reckon you're right, Percy replied. Harry's jaw was tight. Hermione's eyes were red from lack of sleep. The Great Hall was full when they arrived. Banners from each house hung high. The enchanted ceiling showed a blank grey sky. At the front of the hall, beside the staff table, stood a group of unfamiliar witches and wizards in dark robes with gold trim. Auras, Percy guessed. In the middle, puffed up and nervous, was Cornelius Fudge. Umbridge stood at Dumbledore's side, looking very pleased with herself. Dumbledore himself was calm, hands folded. Fudge cleared his throat and tapped his wand against his throat. His voice boomed through the hall. Students, staff, honoured guests, he said. We are here today to address a matter of great importance to our world. The presence of an unregistered, uncontrolled magical being within this school. Whispers rippled through the hall. Percy felt hundreds of eyes pull toward him. He stood at the end of the Gryffindor table. For a heartbeat, he considered ducking under it and hiding. Then he straightened his shoulders. He walked into the aisle. Harry stepped with him. Ron and Hermione too. Luna drifted along, calm as always. Ginny and Neville rose as well, taking up spots behind them. One by one, DA members stood and moved, until Percy was walking at the head of a small group. They stopped halfway down. Fudge swallowed. Mr. Jackson, he said. Yes, There you are. Percy lifted his chin. Here I am, he said. The Ministry of Magic has shown great patience, Fudge said. We have allowed you time to adjust. We have observed your actions. You are clearly powerful. However, you are also clearly dangerous. For the safety of all, you must now be placed under Ministry supervision, at least until we can understand and regulate your abilities. Behind him, an aura held a scroll. It glittered with magic, a binding writ. Come forward, Fudge said. Sign this, and you will be taken to a secure facility where you will be examined and trained by professionals. You will be treated fairly. And if I don't? Percy asked. Fudge's eyes darted to Umbridge, then back. Then, he said, we will have no choice but to consider you a rogue entity and act accordingly. The auras shifted, hands near their wands. The hall felt very small. Percy looked up at Dumbledore. The headmaster met his eyes. He did not nod. He did not shake his head. He just held Percy's gaze, steady and sad. It said, "This is your choice." Percy's heart hammered. His mouth was dry. He remembered Voldemort's offer. He remembered Umbridge's tea. He remembered a lifetime of being the guy everyone else pointed at when monsters came. He thought of his mom, of Annabeth, of Camp Half-Blood. He thought of the lake, of the crack, of the chains with his letter on them. Both worlds needed someone at the door. He could not stand in two places at once, but he could choose this place now. He took a breath. "I'm not signing," he said. Gasps, a few cheers, a hiss from somewhere near the Slytherin table. Fudge's face went red. "You do not understand." "I do," Percy said. His voice shook a little, but he did not stop. "You want to own me. Call it supervision or training or whatever, but it's chains. I've had enough of chains." He lifted his hand. The auras flinched. Percy did not pull from the lake. He did not need to. There was water in every glass, in every teapot, in every pitcher on the tables. It rose. Thin streams slid up from cups and bowls, shimmering in the air. They wound together into a thick ribbon that circled the hall in a slow, steady ring. Students gasped. Some reached for their wands. The water settled just below the ceiling, humming faintly. Percy kept his hand raised. "I'm not attacking you," he said. "If I wanted to, this would look very different. This is a line. I'm showing you what I can do, and also what I'm choosing not to do." His arm trembled, not from the strain, from nerves. "The door under our lake is connected to my world," he said, "to storms and monsters you don't understand. I helped seal it. Now the seal is tied to me. If you drag me off to some box, you leave that door weaker. You risk both our worlds." He met Fudge's eyes. "I'm staying here," he said, "at Hogwarts, as long as Dumbledore will have me, as a guardian. You don't have to like it, but you're not putting me in a cage." Harry stepped up beside him. "If you try," he said, "you'll have to go through us too." Ron nodded. "And the DA," he added. Hermione looked terrified, but did not move back. Ginny's wand was already in her hand. Neville swallowed hard and lifted his chin. Around the hall, other wands came out, not pointed at Percy, pointed down or at the floor. A silent statement. Umbridge's face had gone an ugly shade of pink. "This is rebellion," she shrieked. "Students defying the Ministry. Headmaster, do something." Dumbledore finally spoke. "Cornelius," he said, "you see how the tide is turning." Fudge sputtered. "You cannot let a child dictate terms to the government." "Children have always paid the price for our mistakes," Dumbledore said quietly. "I am tired of watching it happen." He stepped down from the staff platform and walked toward Percy. He stopped at his side and faced the hall. Percy Jackson is not a citizen of our world, Dumbledore said. He does not fall under your usual laws. He is a representative of a foreign power, a demigod of an ancient pantheon who has chosen to aid us. That makes him, in effect, a foreign magical ally. The words hung in the air like a new spell. A what? Fudge stammered. An ally, Dumbledore repeated. Not a weapon, not a prisoner, not a subject. The proper ministry response to such a being is not to drag him to a cell, but to negotiate with him, to protect his rights while asking for his help. He smiled slightly. It did not reach his eyes. Unless, of course, he added, you wish to start a diplomatic incident with a god of the sea. Fudge blanched. He had seen enough weird things in his time as minister to believe that might be possible. The auras shifted uneasily. Umbridge opened her mouth, then shut it when she realized the room was not with her. The students were watching Percy, not with fear mostly, with something like faith. Fudge licked his lips. This is highly irregular, he said weakly. Most important things are, Dumbledore said. He turned to Percy. For the record, he said, voice gentler. Hogwarts would be honored if you stayed, as guardian, guest, and friend. Percy swallowed the lump in his throat. I'd like that, he said. He lowered his hand. The ring of water drifted back down, slipping neatly into cups and pitchers without spilling a drop. The tension in the room eased just a little. Fudge huffed. We will review this status, he said. The ministry does not accept. You will do what you think is best, Dumbledore said. As will we. He turned his back on the minister and faced the students. Lunch is now served, he said. Try the sausages. I hear they are unusually colourful today. The house elves, bless them, had heard the mood. Platters appeared on the tables, piled high with food. Half of it was blue. Percy laughed. It burst out of him, sharp and real. The knot in his chest loosened. He turned to Harry, Ron, Hermione, and the others. Thanks, he said quietly. Harry grinned. What are allies for? He said. Ron clapped him on the back. Welcome to the club, he said. We specialize in making the ministry mad. Hermione wiped at her eyes and pretended she had just gotten dust in them. Up at the staff table, Umbridge sat down so hard her chair almost tipped over. Fudge huffed and stomped out, auras trailing behind him. Dumbledore watched them go. Then he looked out at the hall, at the boy with sea eyes and the students around him. The shape of the future had shifted again. The wizarding world had a guardian now, not because of a prophecy, because he chose to be. The night was very quiet. Snow lay in soft piles along the shore of the Black Lake. The castle windows glowed with warm light. Most students were inside, finishing homework or playing games by the fire. Percy sat on a rock near the water, wrapped in a cloak he had borrowed from an empty chair in the common room. His breath puffed white in the cold air. The lake was calm. The bond in his chest hummed, not in warning this time, but in a low, steady way, like a heartbeat. So, a voice said behind him, Guardian of the Lake. Percy smiled without turning. Hey, Harry. Harry walked up and sat beside him. He wore a thick jumper and fingerless gloves. His glasses fogged a bit in the cold. For a while, they just sat. Feels quieter, Harry said at last, since you sealed the door, since the ministry backed off a bit. Not safe, just quieter. Yeah, Percy said, like when a storm moves out to sea. Harry snorted. That's your world showing, he said. Percy shrugged. Can't help it. They watched the small patches of ice form and break near the shore. Do you regret it? Harry asked after a bit. Saying no, to Voldemort, to the Ministry, staying here. Percy thought about it. Yes, he said. And no. Both. Harry waited. Yes, because I miss home, Percy said. Every day. Sometimes it hits me out of nowhere. I'll smell something like my mom's kitchen, or see a girl reading with her feet on a chair and think of Annabeth, and it just hurts. He drew a circle in the snow with his boot. And no, because I've run from things before, he said. I've had choices where I could have dumped my problems on someone else. I don't want to be that guy. Not now, not when I know what's at stake. Harry nodded slowly. I used to think, Harry said, that if someone offered to take the prophecy away, I'd say yes. Let them deal with Voldemort. Let me be normal. Seems fair, Percy said. You were a kid. Yeah, Harry said. But then, I met people who believed in me. People who would die if I walked away. And it stopped being about what was fair. He took off his glasses and rubbed them on his sleeve. You're not alone here, he said quietly. Whatever happens next, you chose this, but we chose you too. Percy looked at him. I know, he said. Thanks. An owl hooted above them. They looked up as the bird swooped down, wings wide, and landed on Percy's shoulder with surprising accuracy. Whoa, Percy said. Hey there. The owl held out its leg. A small package was tied to it with blue string. Hermione had taught Percy how to untie owl post without losing a finger. He worked the knot loose and took the bundle. The owl hooted again and flew off toward the castle. Percy stared at the package. His name was written on the brown paper. Percy. No last name. Just Percy. The handwriting was neat and familiar. His heart stopped for a second. He tore the paper open with shaking hands. Inside was a small tin. He opened it. Blue cookies. They were a deep, ridiculous shade of blue. They smelled like sugar and vanilla and home. Harry's eyes widened. Are those? Yeah, Percy whispered. My mum's. There was a note folded under the tin. Percy, it read. I don't know how this will reach you. There was a lady at a strange little shop who said she could forward mail to unusual places. It cost more than it should have, but I had a feeling. Wherever you are, I hope you're eating properly. I made these just in case. Come home when you can. But if you can't yet, I'm proud of you. Love. Mom. Percy's vision blurred. He blinked hard and laughed at the same time. Magic post, Harry said softly. Of course. Percy handed him a cookie. Careful, he said. These are powerful artifacts. Harry took a bite. His face lit up. Oh, he said. Oh, that's good. Percy bit into one himself. It tasted exactly right. For a moment, the bond in his chest hummed in time, with something far away. A small kitchen in New York. A woman washing dishes and looking out a window, trusting that somewhere, somehow, her son was okay. He swallowed. Guess the worlds are more connected than we think, he said. Harry nodded. Doors work both ways, he said, even small ones. They ate cookies in silence. After a while, footsteps crunched in the snow behind them. Ron and Hermione joined them, huddling into their cloaks. Luna followed, wearing a scarf with little shimmering fish embroidered on it. Is that the famous blue food? Ron asked, eyes wide. Percy slid the tin toward him. Help yourself, he said. They shared the cookies until only crumbs were left. Percy saved one and slipped it back into the tin, closing the lid gently. For later, he said, just in case. The group fell quiet again, watching their breaths curl into the cold air. Do you ever think about after? Hermione asked quietly. After this war, after school, after doors. All the time, Percy said. But I try not to plan too hard. My life laughs at plans. Harry laughed softly. Same, he said. Luna tilted her head, looking at the lake. Stories don't really end, she said. They just change people and keep going, even when you close a book. Neville's voice called from the path. Someone was starting a game of exploding snap in the common room. The warm light from the castle windows spilled out onto the snow. Percy looked at the castle, at the lake, at the friends around him. He still missed his world. He still wanted to go back someday. But for now, he had a place to stand, a door to guard, people who believed in him. That was more than he had sometimes dared to hope for. He stood up, stretching. Come on, he said, before we freeze solid. They walked back toward the castle together, leaving a messy trail of footprints in the snow. Behind them, the black lake lay quiet. Deep under its surface, chains of mixed magic glowed softly, wrapped around a closed crack. Somewhere far away, in another world, waves crashed on a different shore. A sea god watched through a pool of water and grunted, half annoyed, half proud. In a dark room lined with doors, Voldemort stared into a basin filled with water from the lake and saw the faint glimmer of a rune shaped like a pea. His lips thinned. He turned away, plotting a new path. In the Ministry, Fudge signed another form, complaining under his breath about allies and ungrateful children, while Unspeakables whispered about foreign seals. In his office, Dumbledore wrote letters to people who might understand doors between worlds. He paused at one point, smiled slightly, and added a line about blue cookies. Hogwarts was still Hogwarts. Students still laughed, fought, studied, and grew up. Life went on. Just different now. At the castle door, Percy paused and looked back one last time. The lake shimmered in the moonlight. For a moment, he saw his own reflection there, taller and more solid than he remembered. Not just a lost kid from another world, a guardian. He touched the tin of cookies in his pocket, feeling its small weight. Okay, he whispered to the water. I'm here. I've got this. The bond in his chest hummed in answer. He went inside, and the door swung shut behind him, warm light spilling out onto the snow as the night held its quiet watch.